Only here, TCU.
Welcome to Only Here. Only here, as in only here at TCU can you experience top-tier academics, game-changing research, big-time athletics, all on a campus with a small-town feel, but in a top 5 media market. I'm Chancellor Pullin. Join me for exclusive conversations with Horned Frog and community leaders. Well, hey everybody. Today is a special day as we continue the amazing conversations in the TCU Only Here podcast. I am excited and delighted, and I know our students and faculty and staff are as well, is that on campus today and by and through this podcast, we have the opportunity to welcome Lisa McKnight, one of the 50 most impactful chief marketing officers in the country by virtue of her long-standing, I think 26 years is what I understand, tenure as both the executive vice president of Mattel and the chief brand officer. And in many ways, she has been credited and led the charge to create a real renaissance around the legacy Barbie brand, which has always been a household name, but has risen to maybe peak prominence in recent years, through a variety of initiatives. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say welcome to Texas Christian University. Thank you for being here. We are a university that prides ourselves on operating at the intersection of the academy and academics and industry, and what's possible as our students, as they become first interns and then graduates, build careers in the context of life. And there's no better way to learn about how to apply what they're learning in the classroom and the laboratories and the performance halls than having direct encounters with accomplished business leaders, other leaders in community organizations who've turned that theory into practice in such a meaningful way and had the kind of impact that you have. So I guess that's a long way of saying it. We're giving you a hearty welcome to TCU, and we're so excited that you're going to be here on campus.
Well, thank you, Chancellor. I appreciate it. Great to be here, and wonderful energy, and excited for the next few days.
Yeah, well, I know we're filming this at the very outset of your time here, so you have a number of activities. But for our viewers, kind of bring them inside what you're expecting to see here, and maybe why an opportunity at TCU kind of fit into your schedule, and you're willing to invest in our students, faculty, staff, and community leaders in this way.
Absolutely. Well, it was an honor to be invited to join you all, and I'm thrilled to be here and looking forward to spending time with students, having one-on-ones with them, hearing about their dreams and aspirations, giving them a little coaching as best I can in terms of what to expect in the real world. Excited to talk about brand building, not only students' personal brands, but also as they think about companies and corporations that they might want to go work for, thinking about brands that might interest them, and engaging with your communications and marketing teams, and certainly faculty, and then feeling the spirit of the school. TCU has an incredible reputation. More and more kids from the West Coast, where I'm from, are finding it and loving it.
Good.
And I'm excited to feel the spirit and the energy on the campus.
Yeah, well, that's really is a hallmark of TCU, is that enthusiasm, that excitement for what is possible. I always say, and sometimes faculty and staff know what I'm going to say, but before I even say it, but I believe that at TCU it is one of those great organizations, in higher ed or otherwise, where if you can dream it, you can do it. And I know that both for your own personal career and then the scaled impact that you've had on others, you strike me as someone that is a kindred spirit, that understands that if you can empower others and put them in a position, whether that's with experience, confidence, a set of relationships, that whatever they are dreaming, that folks like yourself can be on the critical pathway from where they are and where they might be. And you're making a very consistent investment in that concept here over the next couple of days. And the formal mechanism that's brought here is the green chair. Which is, among our most distinguished opportunities to bring people in for formal conversations, but then the informal engagements that happen around it. And so we're excited to have you, and excited to learn just a little bit more, maybe starting with your journey. And it could be prior to your time at Mattel. It could be during those amazing 26 years. But just bring us in under the hood a little bit about how maybe philosophically or practically you built that career.
Yes, happy to. And I'm happy to rewind and even go back to my years at university. I went to Denison University.
Yeah, sure.
Small liberal arts in central Ohio. And chose to go there as a native Californian to experience not only the school, the education, the liberal arts, but also a change of scenery and to experience the seasons and to meet kids from all over and get outside of California, get broader perspectives. So had a great experience there and was a double major in mass media and history. And that led me into an interest in storytelling and really sort of branding and thinking about communication and how to connect with consumers at a higher level. And so I started my career in advertising, worked in San Francisco for a variety of agencies. What I love about advertising is you get exposed to different industries based on your clients. So I worked with everyone from Taco Bell to Bank of America to the Fairmont hotels, all very different industries, different business dynamics. Loved that and loved working in a creative environment. But I also knew that I wanted to be a bit more of a stakeholder in the actual business. And so I made the sort of move to client side, as they say, and got to work for The Gap in their corporate offices during the heydays of the late 90s, under the legendary Mickey Drexler, famous CEO. Old Navy had recently launched. We did a lot of work on differentiating, Old Navy from Gap versus Banana Republic, sort of a good, better, best strategy, and enjoyed that time tremendously. And then moved to Los Angeles for my husband's career. And frankly, as a native San Franciscan, I was a little nervous about going south. Thought that maybe it wasn't going to be the right fit for me based on, stereotypes and perception, and got there and realized what a lovely place to be, and started working at Mattel shortly thereafter, but really thought it was going to be, maybe a quick stint and we'd end up eventually back in Northern California. And then life takes over and we started a family. We have 2 daughters. And my time at Mattel turned into 26 years that literally flew by. You've heard the expression that the days can be long, but the years go fast. And at Mattel, I had, I would say, so many different chapters, and I usually refer to it as sort of careers within the career. And I could go on and on about my time at Mattel, but fascinating time.
Well, I love almost everything you said, actually. But going back to your choice of a double major at Denison, right, where the learning about the stories and the decisions of the past, and then through your education around mass communication and technology and how things were changing. How did you make that pivot or identify and then maybe capitalize on that bridge between your formal education?
Well, absolutely. When I was in advertising, it was fascinating, to hear the origin stories of these brands that we were engaging on, and to really try to get the true purpose of the brand, from the founders. And that was always a really interesting starting place for a lot of the creative and communication work that we did. And then, I was there when the internet was introduced to all of us, and the way the media landscape has changed has been fascinating. And I've learned so much over the decades. There's been so much disruption, but it's been fascinating. And really, I think the message there is you have to go where the audience is going. You can't resist change. You've got to embrace it. And that's always been my approach.
Well, the other thing you said that struck me was that obviously you're very passionate about building brands, both maybe commercial or institutional, but also personal brands. And part of our ability to to invite you, and thank you for saying yes, by the way. That means a lot to us. Is from our Department of Strategic Communications and our programs around film, TV, and digital media studies, and so we're trying to build on the foundation that you've created over the years. How do you think, what advice would you give to our students about how to build not only be a great contributor to the institution that they're employed by, but also as they think about managing their careers, creating career currency, maybe staying abreast of the latest technologies? How do you co-process with those two perhaps tugging forces?
Well, I think what's true in today's day and age is just doing the bare minimum, doing what the job description is not enough.
Right.
I mean, you have to go above and beyond, and that's probably true in the classroom.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, people and management, and I'm sure professors want to see curiosity. They want to see people connecting dots between what they're focused on, maybe in the classroom or for their work project, with outside and other sort of influences. Where are those converging points? Where can they learn from other industries, other experiences, and apply them to what they're doing?
Yep.
So I think curiosity is highly valued. And I would say in terms of navigating the career workspace, it's about saying yes and raising your hand for opportunities, taking rotations, even if they're considered more lateral versus, progressing upwards, to get that breadth of experience. I've always found that the more of a versatile player I was, and that might also be true as a student, the more versatility you have, can be really valuable. It's great to certainly have depth and experience, and if you're very focused and know exactly what you want to do, that's amazing too. But there's nothing wrong with versatility as well, and being considered for all sorts of different positions as you progress.
No. Well, clearly your approach to career management has worked, and so I want to kind of dig into the resurgence of Mattel, maybe the Barbie brand specifically, even the way you were able to, as I understand it, kind of bring back some legacy licenses that maybe Mattel had at one point and then lost to a competitor, but there was like the Disney Princesses or the Frozen line or something. Kind of walk us through how did this this resurgence of Mattel materialize, so to speak?
Yeah, would love to talk about that. So I'll first talk a little bit about Barbie. I was the global head of Barbie for about 10 years, starting in 2015, 2016. And at that time, we were not doing well from a business standpoint. The brand was still pretty relevant to girls and kids, but parents were giving us some really concerning playback. Moms who themselves had grown up playing with Barbie didn't see her anymore as a positive role model. We were hearing that parents didn't feel good about giving Barbie as a gift for a birthday party that their child might be attending. So there was no social currency. So really horrifying. And what was eye-opening to us was we all had spent, many of my team members had spent a lot of years at Mattel. We knew the origin story of Barbie, but we weren't communicating that. We didn't communicate the purpose of Barbie, why she matters, why she existed. We just assumed that everyone knew and was on the journey with us, and they weren't. Society had moved into a different direction. Barbie was no longer viewed as inclusive and as reflective of the world around kids as the brand was decades earlier. So we did a ton of work to go back to the origin story, as I mentioned a second ago. I'm a big fan. To understand the psychology of the creator of Barbie, who would also happen to be a co-founder of Mattel, Ruth Handler. Why did she create this brand, this doll, this idea? And it was really to be, a role model for girls, to be the original girl empowerment brand. But we weren't messaging that. We also appreciated that through the decades, Barbie had always been a reflection of the times. We did a fun exercise where we looked at Life magazine, we looked at Vogue magazine, we looked at fashion, beauty, culture, And we tracked the evolution of the doll aesthetically and from a careers theming standpoint against what was happening in history. And she was always on pace. But in the recent years, she was not. So we had to do a lot of work to completely reconstruct the brand. And the biggest North Star was really around her purpose, leaning into communicating why she matters, and moving beyond the features of the doll from what is Barbie to what does Barbie inspire. And to do that, we had to evolve the product physically. We changed her body type, which was polarizing.
Yep.
We introduced curvy, petite, tall. We introduced more ethnicities, different skin colors, hair fibers, body sculpts. We introduced more careers. Barbie had always been a career girl, but we hadn't been pronouncing that as much. So we started to focus on career areas where women were underrepresented. So robotics engineer Barbie, Barbie as a judge, Barbie as an astronaut was reinvigorated. And through all of that, we started to bring the world along with us and to better connect to where people were.
Right. And that reset, right? Still building on the origin stories of the past, but a reset for the modernity and the maybe sort of the future sort of needs or desires, known or latent of the marketplace, ultimately culminated in a step that was a bit unprecedented in the feature film surrounding the Barbie universe. Can you talk to us a little bit about, because when I first heard about there was going to be a Barbie movie, I'm like, that's just going to be a really expensive commercial.
Yeah, you thought you knew what the movie was.
I had it nailed
already.
But no. But when I watched it, and when I watched it with my family, including we have 4 children, 3 of which are boys. It was universally loved. Right, and it connected on an emotional level that was far different than I thought it would be. 90 minutes with famous stars, trying to hawk a product. So talk to us about those key decisions and how you were able to achieve that emotive connection with such a broad set of people. And clearly, I think the box office was almost $1.5 billion.
Incredible.
So clearly a hit. But there's a science behind that. That wasn't just serendipity as a strategy.
Absolutely.
But you had to make that choice.
Well, and it's interesting. What some people don't know is we've been talking about a Barbie movie for 20 years. Under other CEOs, other leaders, I had received pitches from other studios for Barbie movies. And it wasn't until this moment that we felt like we had the right ingredients. And part of that was the state of the brand. We felt like we had made such interesting progress to truly modernize, evolve the brand, to celebrate, again, empowerment in a unique way. But also, we had the right filmmakers. Margot Robbie came to us before Greta Gerwig. She came to us as a producer with her production company, partnering with Warner Brothers. And she said, look, I don't know what the idea is, but I know it has to be unexpected and disruptive and not a movie that you think you've already seen.
Right.
And unfortunately, those were some of the takes that were given to us in the years prior. It was very expected. And like you said, a giant, 90-minute commercial. So we liked that approach. And then we really got excited when Greta Gerwig signed up to be the writer because of her history with celebrating femininity, modern femininity, with her storytelling, Lady Bird, of course, and Little Women. And she was a huge Barbie fan, which I also appreciated, but was very straightforward with us about the polarizing nature of Barbie. And she said, look, if we want to bring everybody in, as Margot had said, this has to be unexpected, but also we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
And I'll never forget one of the first advertising campaigns that we were talking about that was Greta's idea, which was, if you love Barbie, this movie is for you. If you hate Barbie, this movie is for you.
Oh, wow.
And I was so uncomfortable with that. And we had good discussion and debate with the marketing team at Warner Brothers, Greta, the other filmmakers. And I said, as a brand steward, why would I ever allow the word hate to be used in association with my brand? How could I endorse that?
Right.
But I appreciated that it was going to grab people's attention, and they got me there. and they got me to feel comfortable. And from that point on, we also knew that this had to be more than, a family, kids-oriented title. Like, we had an opportunity to create a cultural phenomenon and to create meaningful conversation with as big and broad of an audience as possible.
Yeah.
And that was also challenging because I was very protective of girls and parents of girls. So some of the plot lines, some of the choices that were made, I was worried about alienating that younger audience, but I had to appreciate that a lot of this stuff would go over their heads, and this was really for a bigger societal moment.
Yeah. Well, I loved it because it actually kind of reminded me a bit of whatever that special sauce is, that purple magic that kind of floats around TCU. There's been a number of national periodicals that have characterized TCU as a vibey school, which the movie was very vibey and a cultural phenomenon, and was very with the moment, and very enjoyable from an entertainment value perspective. But there are also true undercurrents of values in that movie as well, and we're a values-centered university with 4 core values of integrity and excellence and engagement and community. And so I could actually see the connectivity between what was on the screen and what we're trying to do to bring in a very connected audience that believes, whether you knew TCU and you loved it, or you didn't know TCU and you were very curious or skeptical of what TCU is. That commitment to values and vibes coming together to create the stickiness that changes lives and propels careers and allows communities to be strengthened as a result of what we do. So whether it's from a corporate perspective, your own personal point of view, how do you think about vibes and values and how they could be transformative?
Well, I think you hit the right word. It transformative is exactly what you can unlock if you are authentic. I think where you can make a mistake, certainly as brands, is if you overstate or overpromise and underdeliver, what your values are. They have to come from an authentic place. And I think one thing that's always been true about Barbie, not only is she about inspiration, but she's also optimistic. And I think that's why the brand or the movie also really resonated at that moment in time. I mean, timing is also everything.
Right.
But at that moment in time when people were coming out of the pandemic and wanted to gather and form community, it was about, celebrating optimism. And, the color pink, which is associated very closely with the brand, is a very optimistic, joyful color. So I think that all converged as well. Not every brand can just decide they're going to go after a value like that.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of Mattel, we are all about, trust. That's a very important value. It's about ensuring that everyone has transparency to what we're doing. Everyone has context, the why, in addition to the what, at every level, so that you do feel like a stakeholder and you do feel invested. And that's why we probably have such incredible retention. I mean, there are many 20-plus year professionals at the company because of that. So I'm with you. I think if you can hone in on a value, on a feeling that's emotive, it just makes people feel so much more connected. And then they will share their own stories and they will become ambassadors for the school, for the brand.
Well, let's talk about optimism and content and context and impact and giving people hope in many ways. And maybe we could use your involvement with the Dream Gap project as an example of broad impact. And I don't even know what the latest number was, but someone had told me it was maybe 25 million. Girls have been touched by this project in such a positive way, and their dreams are being furthered. Yeah,
thank you. That's a project I'm very proud of. It was launched about 8 years ago, and it was another part of the transformation journey of Barbie, where we said, we have to live our purpose. If we believe that this brand can inspire the limitless potential in girls, are there areas where there are barriers preventing girls from realizing their limitless potential? And how do we remove those barriers in the best way we can? We coincidentally happened upon some research at NYU about this dream gap phenomenon, where starting as young as the age of 5 or 6, girls started to doubt their self-confidence and their capabilities and started to feel less than versus boys. And so that was, of course, very disturbing and alarming, but also good data, real data that we could act upon. So we said, well, let's take this on. Let's raise consciousness around this phenomenon that's happening. And let's make sure that there are more opportunities and more positive role modeling out there for girls. And so Barbie in and of herself, we continue to reinforce as a positive role model. We also created more content positioning Barbie as a role model. And we also started working with amazing real women trailblazers, some alive, some historical, and creating dolls in their likeness to tell their stories. Because you hit on this earlier, but I think seeing it is believing it. And we knew that kids needed to be exposed to these real women doing amazing things to believe that anything was possible. And so a lot of that has come within the construct of this Dream Gap initiative. And we also work with third-party organizations because we're not a philanthropic company. We worked with Girls Who Code. We worked with other underserved kids in the Latina community. We worked with Girls Inc. So other amazing third-party organizations to support some of their curriculum and programming. And so all of that to say that, yes, I think the latest stats are we've impacted positively about 25 million girls, and there's more work to do.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, and thank you for that. And,
thank you.
That's certainly important and beneficial at the individual human level, but think about what it means for our broader society and identifying those girls with those gaps and helping them fill them. One of the things that's very timely, just because it was announced a few days ago and very localized, since she's just such a beloved leader in Fort Worth, Texas, that's the new Opal Lee doll.
Yes.
Yeah, and her dream for Juneteenth to be driven with awareness, and now it's a national holiday, and
incredible.
It's just such a stunning story. Walk us through that decision. And
well, it was so much fun, to work on these inspiring women dolls. That's actually the name of the series of dolls that we created. And again, everyone from a Maya Angelou to Billie Jean King to now Opal Lee. We've always been looking at stories that either are known or less known to share. And the best way to do that is through these likeness dolls where we can celebrate these women. And if they're still with us, we can use their literal voice and have them get their message out, or we can share their story through our own narratives. But Dr. Opal Lee was such a pistol. For me, what was so impressive, I got to meet her and her granddaughter, is that so much of this chapter came later in life. I mean, what an incredible life she's led. And then she started this movement around Juneteenth in the later years.
Yeah,
she's
right.
99, I believe, and incredible. And to bring awareness, to have a national holiday now, bringing attention and consciousness around what had been happening in Texas at that time is fascinating. She had so much energy. I loved meeting with her. And when we worked on her doll, her one comment was to add more wrinkles. She felt like she wanted the doll to be even more reflective of her current state.
Wow.
That's not very easy when you're, designing and manufacturing dolls with a little vinyl head sculpt. But we did the best we could to make her feel seen.
Yes, absolutely. Well, she's definitely been just remarkable in our community and nationally. We were so honored to award her a doctoral degree just a couple of years ago from TCU. So she's a horned frog, and
love it.
Just someone that is very dear to our hearts in every way. As is the whole university. This is a podcast that's specifically and intentionally titled "Only Here." We believe there are people, there are stories, and there are dreams that can only exist here at TCU. And so I know you know a lot about TCU, and I know you're going to know even more about TCU by the conclusion of your time serving as the Green Chair. But what are you hoping for in your only here moment at Texas Christian University?
Well, I'm a big fan in secret sauce differentiation. What sets universities, brands, companies, individuals apart. So I'm excited to see how the academics, how the spirit around athleticism, how the I know there's an emphasis on research, and just the overall student life, how that all converges. And I'm sure it'll be impressive.
Yeah.
I do love your Only Here positioning as just sort of a modern marketing platform. I think it's great. I think it's very easy for universities in particular to market themselves around rankings and stats and, different honor or different, academic programs, but to tap into something that's more about the whole experience, I think is what today's youth is most energized by. I mean, I think it's table stakes to expect a good education, to expect that your interest areas are going to be covered. But kids today really want to feel belonging. They want purpose. They want to connect. And if there's an experience that they have had that strikes an emotional chord, I mean, that's legacy making. I mean, that's where they become the future, sort of advocates for the school.
Well, I can tell you that that sense of connection and that future advocacy has so much to do with the experiences they have that are differentiated from, brand X, college or university. And one of those is the presence of great leaders like yourself. And so thank you for pouring into our students and, partnering with our faculty and staff through thought leadership and sharing of ideas that matter, that work, that can help us all broaden our impact. So we've just had such a great conversation here today. I'm delighted that you're here and just can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. And again, thank you for the time. I've loved it.
All right. Well, good. Well, that wraps us up, everybody. But thanks again for tuning in. We look forward to our next episode. Until then, go Frogs.